Welcome to the Demon Huddle, presented by Cross Financial Group. Jason Pugh, that's me. Brad Laird, head coach of the Northwestern State Demons, that's him. It's week 2 of the Huddle, week 3 of the 2023 season. And Coach, one thing that's been consistent throughout the first couple of weeks and continues this week, it's a theme, rivalries. It was UL Lafayette in week 1. It was Louisiana Tech last week. Home opener is a very familiar face in Stephen F. Austin, and one that you've seen in just about every possible capacity as a Northwestern State Demon. You probably saw them as a fan when you were a child. You played against them. You've coached against them as an assistant. You've coached against them as a head coach. A lot of ties between Natchitoches and Nacogdoches that will resume this weekend in Turpin.
Yeah, you look at the last 2 weeks, last week being Louisiana Tech, and that was, a team that we'd played 80 times. And within those 80 times, you had the State Fair Classic. Fast forward to this week, Stephen F. Austin, not only, first game was 1924. We've played them, this will be the 77th meeting between the two. So not quite the 80, but I think there's, when you talk about the rivalry and you talk about the conference implications that you had so many years with them, especially being the last game of the season. And so, to be able to renew that, to be able to have your home opener with a former conference rival, it's big enough when you have your home opener. But to be able to add Stephen F. Austin to that makes it even more special.
You mentioned it's been since 2019. It was the last game of your second year as head coach. It was the last game of Colby Carthel's first year. When you face a coach that's kind of on the same timeline as you, is there a natural inclination to do a little comparing to where the programs are? Or is that something you don't think about at all?
Well, no, for the simple fact that I think the way things have changed, especially over the last couple of years, your team can be so different year in and year out. And so, I think it's, just to be able to renew the rivalry, to be able to, not only myself, but the communities of Natchitoches and Nacogdoches, the alumni of Stephen F. Austin and Northwestern State that have had so many battles in so many different ways, not only as a fan growing up, being able to watch the two, as a player to be part of that, as a graduate assistant, as an assistant coach, and now as a head coach, but also I've been on the other side of it at Stephen F. Austin as a coach. So I've seen it about every different angle that you can see it. And one thing that's common out of all of those, it's a big game. And so to have that with our home opener, we're excited.
I think we just blocked out the time you were at Stephen F. We're just going to keep you here on this side of the Sabine, on this side of the El Camino Real that connects the two physically. And it's not just you that's seen it from both sides. You've got a guy on your staff in Bo Blair, who we'll talk to here in a little bit, but he's been on the other side at Stephen F. Austin, more so as a student than anything else, but it's got to be an interesting feeling, going against your alma mater, especially when the stakes were what they were for so many years.
Yeah, I just think you see so many storylines that go with Northwestern and Stephen F. and Coach Blair being one, but it just, not only with the rivalry, but because of what was usually at stake when you played that game. It wasn't in the middle of the season. It wasn't a non-conference game like it is now. It was at the end of the year, and usually something on the line. So, I just think it's great to be able to have the opportunity to be able to battle those guys again.
You and I sit down every Monday and kind of recap the week that was and look ahead to the week that will be. You talk so much about how special it is to play at home, and these guys have 5 opportunities to do that. Is that something that can't be overstated when you go into a home opener, to kind of make these guys realize you have a very limited number of these opportunities and these chances to play in front of your home fans?
Yeah, and we talk about that throughout the year. I mean, as much work as you put in, and you're only guaranteed 11. Now you look at home opportunities, you're guaranteed 5. So, it's just special to be able to run out of the purple smoke on a field that you've put so much effort, so much time. People talk about the blood, sweat, and tears, and it's true. To be able to play a home game in front of your fans, your community, your university, your alumni. To me, there's nothing like it. And so, not only is it a rivalry game, but first home game. There'll be so much that goes into that. A lot of people coming back. So I expect and look forward to a great home crowd Saturday night.
As we talked about it, something that kind of entered my mind, you have a lot of guys who will play their first home opener at Turpin Stadium. You don't have a whole lot of that played many home openers just because we've talked about it, the sea change in college athletics and the roster construction and roster turnover now. You got some new coaches too that haven't coached a game at Turpin. So a lot of new faces that get their first introduction to the Inferno run and coming out of that tunnel here at home. Pretty special moment for them.
Yeah, and the whole game day experience. Friday night, with the pep rally, and then Saturday will be a little similar to how we've done the last 2 weeks. But after you finish pregame meal, I'll be able to have my last visit with them, and then we get a walk, down the steps onto the field into our locker room. And then when you talk about so many firsts, as far as young men that this is their first home opener, they vary in age. Used to be it was always that 18-year-old true freshman or that 19-year-old redshirt freshman. Now it's 24, 25-year-old seniors, grad transfers. So, there's so many that will be going through this for their first time. And I want them to enjoy the moment. And because it is a special moment, you're only guaranteed 5, and you only get one home opener at the beginning of the year. So we'll look forward to that.
Sometimes that first one can be just as emotional as the first one.
Yeah.
And, we love the fact that you're emotional. We know that. We've seen that post game before. We've made jokes between you and me and a certain reporter who keeps trying to draw it out of you.
Yeah.
But I mean, for you, how do you balance, we talk about players' emotions. You coach with emotion, but I guess at the same thing, you've got to sometimes tamper that down to make sure your message gets across, to make sure you don't ultimately maybe negatively influence your players.
At the end of the day, the 60 minutes starting at 6 o'clock Saturday night is what the focus has to be. Yes, there's so many things involved in a home game that's great, but we can't let the outside factors influence the way we play the game, the way we coach the game. And I think that'll be the message as much as anything, and it always has been, not to let those external factors that I call them influence your ability to be the best football team you can be. So, we'll talk about the things that are going on. We'll talk about the rivalry, but it's going to come down to us, like it always does, us preparing to be the best team that we can be. Us executing consistently the best that we can be, eliminating those critical penalties at certain times to be the best that we can be. That's what we need to focus on, and our guys will do a good job of focusing on that and eliminating any of the outside noise.
We're going to keep it to this when we wrap things up here. Last week at UL Lafayette, saw your daughter on the field with you post-game. Last week at Louisiana Tech, your son was on the field with you. You'll get a little bit more chance to have Miss Renee down there probably this week, but how special is that as a coach, and especially as your kids get older? We hear so many times the sacrifices families make for people in your profession, for how important having a supportive spouse is, but you kind of watch your kids grow up, and we've talked a little bit about Brock going on visits as his athletic career grows, but to have him down there and to have Brianna there last week at UL Lafayette, or 2 weeks ago now, that's got to be special for Brad the father.
It is. We do every Sunday night, we do, family dinner. And, we bring wives, girlfriends, fiancés, kids, and we got little kids to older kids. And, it's a time because I want the families involved. I want the kids at the field house running around making a lot of noise, because that's just, let's not forget, we are husbands, we are dads, and, we just may have 115 other sons, but, to have him on the field and his official visit for baseball at Louisiana Tech, I appreciate them and him having that opportunity. But, just to get your families involved, being on the field through the good times and bad times, because at the end of the day, they're going to be there, and so it's, we talk about family within our program, and our coaches live that outside of the office, and that's great to see.
Those family meetings don't just happen with those 115.
That's correct. That's correct.
Coach, as always, thank you for your time. We'll be back with segment 2 of the Demon Huddle presented by Cross Financial here on YouTube.
Whether it's in the trailer, behind the camera, or on the air, NSU has a place for you. Learn the ins and outs of an ESPN broadcast while getting a full-fledged education in sports media or broadcast journalism. Northwestern State University, New Media, Journalism, and Communication Arts. Learn more at nsula.edu/newmedia.
Welcome back to the Demon Huddle presented by Cross Financial Group. We're here with Northwestern State Defensive Coordinator Weston Glosser. Coach, welcome back. Week 2 of the Huddle, week 3 of the season coming up. And let's basically take a real quick look back at Louisiana Tech, the game that was. Again, very kind of followed the same script a little bit for your defense as the first game. The explosive plays were tough, but again, there were moments where your defense stood tall, set the offense up with a chance to keep that game close.
The biggest thing for us is consistency, and that's where we've got to be. You look, not where we want to be in the run game. We ended up holding Louisiana Tech to 100 yards passing, which an air raid offense is what you want to do, but way too many explosions in the run game, and that's what it was. And we talk about that's our Achilles heel through the first 2 games. I mean, we've held people in the red zone. We've been unbelievable on third downs. It's just eliminate the explosives. And when you look at their running game, they average 9.6 a carry, and that is unreal high number. But when you take out the touchdown plays, just the touchdowns, it's 2.4. And, that's the message to the guys. And really on those 4 to 5 plays, when you look, we had 2, it was missed tackles. One of them, we hit him 2 yards deep in the backfield, missed tackles, and it goes. We don't get the edge set by the safety. And then one of them, we missed 3 tackles in a row. Safety gets stiff arm, and that's the challenge of the safeties of explosive runs for touchdowns. That's on us. Misfits may happen up front, but we've got to make it right. Consistent running game, that's when you're having a problem in the box. And so, even to be able to knock it down this year, we're top 15 in the nation in red zone. We're top in third down defense. We got to make people earn it. And we've given up too much stuff these first 2 games, and that's what we have to fix.
Those one-play drives, you're good on third down, but if you don't get there, it's a challenge.
No question. And that's a focus this week. We play an offense that's very explosive. They've got a good group of running backs. I think their O-line is extremely well coached, very physical. And so we've got our work cut out for us in the run game. And quarterback can run too. He's a big kid, and he's hard to bring down. You look at Alcorn, I mean, they run a power read with him, jet power read, and he goes for 63, I believe it was. And so he's got wheels. He can run hard to bring down. And so we've got to be very conscious with our eyes this week and do a great job in the run game, run fits. And like I said, knock it down, make people earn it.
One guy that's earned his way on has been Kendall Harmon. He had a career-high 7 tackles Saturday at Louisiana Tech, and he's one of those, as we talked with Coach Laird, there's so much roster turnover in this era of college athletics. When you get a guy who's been here 2 or 3 years, they probably feel like a veteran, even if they haven't seen the field that much, and it seems like that's kind of the case with Kendall.
Kendall's one of those guys, and one thing I give Kendall credit for, he's persevered and worked. Last year didn't have the season I know he probably wanted to have, but he's earned his stripes now. And the good part for us with Kendall, you have Ty with him, Ellie, the other defensive end, and so we have some depth now. We're able to rotate, but them two compete and make each other better. And that's what you like to see, where it's not just one guy going against nobody for a starting job. They're competing and working. And Kendall went out there, didn't even get the start Saturday, but when he was in there, made the most of it. And I think he ended up with, 7 tackles. And, and it couldn't happen to a better kid. You love working with him. He's one of those guys, ain't going to say a whole lot, quiet kid, but always a positive attitude and just comes to work every day.
Sounds a lot like Jaden Ward. Buck is kind of in that same mold, and he has been productive. Another guy we talked about it. I think we can just unfortunately go through about everyone on the roster who's had adversity to overcome. His was an injury to start the year last year. Didn't go to Montana. I don't think he dressed against Grambling. You're behind the 8 ball. You're behind the curve a little bit. This year, healthy, starting, really become a leader on that defensive unit.
Buck does a great job, and that's the thing. Last year, to your point, he got hurt in fall camp, that second scrimmage, and he was a guy for us that we thought was going to be very, very big in our defense and what we were trying to do. He gets hurt, and like you said, it was really after we started conference when he started getting back into the mix. We had to slowly get him in with his knee, and you look at the end of the season last year, he started producing at a high level. Southeastern game, I know he was having a heck of a game and ended up, getting disqualified for targeting, which was tough losing him, but worked hard this offseason, came back. He's a guy who our kids follow. Love watching him out there work hard every play. And, Coach Atwell's done an unbelievable job with him. And you watch his footwork, you watch his eyes, his vision, his progress through run plays, through keys. He's made us a lot better as a defense, and he's playing at a very high level. And he's a leader. Guys are going to follow him because of his work ethic. But, like I said, Buck is also a vocal kid, and he's going to get guys the right way. And he's a guy that you definitely want on your side.
Spoke with him Monday in our weekly interviews and mentioned Jeremy Atwell, the linebackers coach in his first year here, and he just lit up talking about Coach Atwell. And I think that's pretty impressive to see the staff turnover that this staff has had. Your camaraderie with your fellow coaches, it seems to have permeated this entire staff top to bottom.
They make it easy, and I'll tell you that. We've got a great group of coaches, and, it's really from all levels. You look at Coach Atwell with linebackers, Coach Gistorb with D-line, and Coach Carter of corners. I mean, from top to bottom, they've earned those guys respect, and I think a lot of it, I have quite a few friends in the NFL, and it's like they said, it's about what you know. Can you help them? I think the kids see that, but also great men, great to work with, great to be around, and the input we get and the communication from players to coaches, coaches to players has been big on our side. And you watch the first two games, I mean, that's why you see adjustments throughout the game that are able to help us. And really, the misfits are early in the game. Like I said, the missed tackles against LaTech, the one that really broke our back was the long run. I mean, we have 3 missed tackles, hit him in the hole, other safety gets stiff-armed, and then he goes to the house. And at that point, the straw kind of broke on Saturday.
We've talked about the guys you like, the players you like. We'll talk about a team that you don't really like, and it goes a lot farther than the year plus you've been here. We talked with Coach Laird. He's seen the NSU SFA rivalry from both sides. We don't really count the time he was in Nacogdoches. We joked about that. But, he's seen it from this side as a player, as a coach, as a fan, as a university administrator. I mean, it was checklists for him. You've seen another rivalry involving SFA that probably runs about as white hot, if not maybe more. Let's go back to Weston Gloucester at Sam Houston and the enmity toward Stephen F. Austin and how you balance that on game day.
The thing about that rivalry, it was a lot of fun. That game's always going to be high intensity. I heard Coach Laird talk about this game, and it's really the same. We had a cool trophy, Battle of the Piney Woods, has some revolvers on it, things like that, and we played it back then it was Reliant Stadium, NRG, now where the Texans played, and so you knew every year it was going to be a war, be a fun rivalry, but this is a team you definitely respect. And, that's one thing at Sam Houston, you respect who they are and what they do because it's a good program. I think Coach Carthel has done a tremendous job at SFA, and you look at the way he's built this team. They play physical. They play hard. They're very well coached. I think Coach Storm, the OC, has been with him, forever. You look back, those two have been together. But Coach Carthel, everywhere he's been, you look back at Commerce and places he's always won. And so it's a team you respect, and both teams are going to get your best. And Saturday is going to be the same. And I'm excited about it because, like you said, the Battle of the Piney Woods, that was one you had marked on the calendar all year. And it was going to be a heated rivalry, and so it's fun. A lot of memories from that one. I think my favorite, I have to give a shout out to my man Tim Flanders, the Flanders flip at Sam Houston and NRG, and made an ESPN top 10 play. But it's going to be a fun Saturday. These rivalry games are always going to be close. They're always going to be heated. And, we've got a really good football team rolling into Natchitoches this weekend, and we've got to bring our A game for them.
Well, we've got a little orange in our uniform there, the little trim color. But was it odd, as a Sam Houston got to come on and put on purple?
It was a different shade of purple. It looks the same, but different shade in my eyes. We didn't like the purple too much when I was at Sam.
You embrace it now, though.
Embrace it now, yes, sir.
Coach, thanks for your time as always. We'll be back with Bo Blair here on the Demon Huddle, presented by Cross Financial.
Doug here. Does anybody have any other questions?
Here's your coffee, sir.
Welcome back to the Demon Huddle presented by Cross Financial. Joined now by Demon Offensive Coordinator Bo Blair. Coach, week 2, we talked about it last week. Do you make the jump from week 1 to week 2? Your offense took some steps forward Saturday against Louisiana Tech.
Yeah, the players bought in. They did really good. It's really their offense. You know, they find a way to be efficient, more efficient running the ball, and Tyler did a good job of leading them. And you know, we rotated the running backs, and the O-line did really well.
We've seen a lot of times, whether it's in the NFL, whether it's at the P5 level, at the G5 level, when you have a stable of running backs, what is it, you know, do you, I know you go in wanting to rotate, you probably have a set plan. Do you ever just play the hot hand at some point, or do you try to keep I mean, in a perfect world, you keep everybody happy.
For sure.
But how do you balance maybe the guy that's running hot versus a guy that you know needs some reps?
Yeah, so we look at multiple things in that aspect. So fresh legs is very important. Obviously, some running backs have certain intangibles than other running backs, but they know as well as the rest of the team knows a hot hand is a hot hand. So come conference, we might have a better idea who is that hot hand right now. I mean, there's not a lot of stats to say who is what and where. I mean, go back to week 1, you kind of can't prove anything in week 2. I mean, they're all doing their job. So we'll figure out a little more at SFA.
More productive in the running game. I know one thing before we got on camera you mentioned was simply efficiency. Be a little more efficient in that. What does that entail?
Yeah. So, you know, you play fast, play with tempo. There's going to be some negative plays. I'm a firm believer that tempo, and from who I've learned from my mentors, is like hitting a hammer on a rock. Eventually it's going to give away. And so with that tempo, you'll have some inefficient runs, some runs that get no-yard gains, maybe a 1-yard loss. I think with the running backs, there were 5 negative runs. So it's just harder for the O-line to pick up sometimes. Sometimes it's harder for the running backs to see the hole. But then again, you have 7 explosions on top of that, whether it be a 29-yard run up to a 10-yard run. Those guys did really good. So it kind of balanced itself out.
One of those guys that hasn't had a lot of those negative runs through Colby Burrell. He gets downhill about as quickly out of that deep shotgun as anybody. And good to see him. He battled through some injuries last year. He has become a guy that I know you can count on between the tackles, but he showed the ability to bust a long one too.
Yeah, so the good thing about Colby Burrell is, and all the running backs, when you rotate them, they all have fresh legs. Last year we didn't rotate very much, so the injury bug kind of went through. I mean, their body can only take so many hits. I mean, Coach Glosser told me this when he was working for the Browns, is that they upkeep on hits on running backs. And so you look at like someone like Scooter. He took a lot of hits, you know, in the previous years, got the injury bug. Colby Burrell, injury bug. Lacey had a concussion, but still, once again, the injury bug. And so it happens. So I think rotating the backs allows them to stay injury-free right now, and they're all doing really good.
Next man up is a term that keeps getting used, and it's not just here. It's pretty much everywhere, and it's not just football. It's every other sport too. But one of those guys, you know, you didn't have a perfectly healthy Zach Patterson on Saturday. You had Jaron Mitchell instead, and that's a guy that has worked his way back from an injury. And good to see him. I know he made some remarkable catches in camp, really building off this and maybe getting back to what people at Northern Colorado saw from him.
Yeah, so I thought all the receivers did pretty good in that aspect, but Jaron definitely did flourish when his name was called. He caught the ball. Yeah, Zach was a little bit down. He was about 90%. I talked to him before. He said, Coach, I'm about 90% right now. So, you know, found a way to who else can compete? Who else can step up? And he definitely stepped up, and then some other receivers stepped up as well. One
of those, Trayvon Jones, is a tight end. And you hate to see a kind of a highlight get erased by a penalty, but that was a 3rd and 15 play that he converted basically by will and would have been a really neat highlight. I think sometimes his blocking, though, gets overlooked. That's a guy that wants contact, and how nice is that to have at tight end when you also have a guy that can get downfield and pulling a 30-yarder.
100%. So you talk about situational offense right there. So it's 3rd and 15. Obviously, a penalty calls it back. I think there was a penalty before that play too. Would have been a good hit, but he should have been stopped for 5 yards before the sticks, and he lowered his shoulder to get a first down. So it was on a good ball, bad ball situation. Bad ball in the situation where there was a penalty. Good ball, understanding situational offense. It was a good coaching point, good thing to see, because understanding situationally is important. He knew we needed 5 more yards, and he dove forward for it. And he's not scared of contact. He loves contact. Coach Atwell, our special teams coordinator, talked about him and talked about Trevon stepping up, and he started cramping up, got himself out for a second, jumped back into special teams. And so he's fully bought into this team, and he's fully bought in, and he loves contact. He just wants the ball too as well. And so he, when you're fully invested, you're going to find a way to get that ball in your hands.
His energy's a little infectious, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
He is always going. Stephen F. Austin comes here Saturday. We've talked with Coach Laird, who's seen this rivalry from both sides, more so on this side. Coach Glosser has seen a rivalry with SFA on this side. You're the one that's seen it from the other side more than anybody on this staff.
Yeah.
Is it going to be a unique week for Bo Blair in that respect?
Yeah, 100%. Every week I always cheer for SFA, not this week. I think Colby Carthel does a good job there. Definitely, I know it used to be the Battle of Chief Caddo. We don't do that anymore. You call it Battle of the Border, Battle of whatever you want. We're both, is it 60 miles away from the border?
Something like that.
So it's interesting. I'm excited about it. Obviously, I like this purple better. But like you said, I'm an alumni from SFA, and I think they're a good program. They do good things, and I cheer for them every week except this week. So,
do you have any memories of the rivalry? I mean, does anything stand out? Aside from what we just barely touched on.
Absolutely. So there's some things that obviously when I was in college we did when there was a rivalry going on the Battle of Chief Caddo. So we got to get some rivalry brought back. Obviously, it's a rivalry. We play them a lot, but. A lot of memories. When I graduated with, his name is Keaton Franklin from Gilmer. He used to play here a while back, and so I think 2010 and 11. And he's a kick returner receiver here. And we won when I was at SFA, but it ain't going to happen now that I'm at Northwestern State. So we got to find a way. But yeah, definitely, it's a fun, high energy rivalry. It's enjoyable. I know Coach Glosser talked about it from Sam Houston to SFA, Battle of the Piney Woods, and SFA always battled, but Sam Houston always, got him every time when I was there, and it's going to be a good game. It's going to be enjoyable. Chili's going to be hot, and I'm excited about playing them.
So let's go back. You mentioned Keaton Franklin, who played here. When you got hired here, did you talk to him at all? Did he say welcome to the light and away from the dark side?
Yeah, 100%. He gave me a call because he's still in Gilmer. He's a coach as well, and so. He gave me a call and asked me what am I doing, going against SFA, and I was like, hey man, finding a way right here, and I feel like I'm home. So I'm excited about going against them, and Colby Carthel when I was at Tarleton, and he was there at A&M Commerce. So been around him, seen him before, and like I said, he's a good coach, and I think he's doing well with that program.
It'll be your second home opener here, and it comes in a rivalry game, and it just adds a little something. But when you get to that first home opener, and it's 2-3 weeks into the season like it is now, is there even more anticipation for being able to play at home?
Absolutely. Our first 2 games, it wasn't too far away, but just being home, creating a new routine for the kids, a new routine for us, being back here, a lot easier, not a lot of moving parts. You ain't got to worry about buses. You ain't got to worry about is the food going to get here. You ain't got to worry about all this. I mean, we're here, we're established, community has our back, and so I'm excited about being around it.
All you have to worry about is your guys eating at 6 o'clock Saturday night.
Absolutely.
All right. Coach, thank you for your time. Well, thank Coach Glosser, Coach Blair, Coach Laird, everybody that showed up this weekend for the Demon Huddle, presented by Cross Financial Group here on YouTube. We'll be back next week to discuss the season opener with SFA.